It's like, speak kindly to yourself. Number one, it's like, first of all, when you can get your composure after you've had the meltdown,
yes.
you know, what's the next kind thing you can do? What can I do for you? Do you need a tea? Do you need a warm blanket? Do you need to lay down for a minute? If you can, if somebody's there to watch the kids. But like, what can you do for yourself that is, you know, the next kind thing? And that's where you start.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Build Good Humans. I am super excited for this one because I've got a very good friend of mine here and someone who I get to hang out with for like half the year, like once a week, and play music and do cool stuff that's not, I don't know, it's not typical of parents all the time. Mm-hmm. But I still don't really know you all that well. So we've got a phenomenal person, a wonderful singer, a mom, a wife, many different things. My bandmate. I say my bandmate. We're both in someone else's band. It's okay. But we're bandmates. And very excited to have Mallory Anderson on.
Hi. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So to kick it off, I would say, tell me about yourself. You know, I get to know you as cool rock star lady, but I'm sure there's more going on behind that. So let me know.
This is cool. Oh my
tell
gosh.
us a little bit about your background.
All right, so I grew up in Plymouth. I have two sisters, and I'm in the middle. Cool. I'm the middle child. I have my mom and my dad. My dad's from the Philippines, which says a lot. There's a whole lot to that. And my mom grew up in Weymouth. So I had a good childhood, but I'm going to be completely honest. My sisters and I grew up in a house where we didn't really quite see the love all the time. You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna be real. Okay,
yeah, that's okay.
I want to be as honest as I can.
That's great.
My parents are not. I guess it's like they're not a typical like, "Hi, honey, how was your day? Like, how you doing? Things are." They didn't really talk so much. It was more just like my mom took care of us, and my dad, you know, worked and he paid the bills and he kept the house and everything like that. So I think that seeing a relationship that was very like incongruent a lot of the times, and there was a lot of tension, sort of pushed me on the trajectory that you know, led me towards the rest of the things that I gravitated towards in my life, which was music. Nice. So music saved me completely. I was like 4 years old and like listening to the theme songs of my little kid shows, and I was just enthralled. I'm like, oh my God, this is it. This is life. Like,
so you've been singing forever.
More
or less.
I knew from a young age, I'm like, I want to be a singer. I just knew it because of the way that music touches you and makes you feel. It's like, oh my God, this is it. This is my savior, right? Yeah. So that led me to the music. I've always been a musician, but I started studying like really more seriously like in my early 20s, actually. It was kind of later in life, you know?
Yeah.
Some kids start piano at like 8, and I was definitely later to the game, but it's paid off.
That's awesome.
So I think that's like just a little bit of my background.
And when I'm probably wrong, or at least a little bit wrong, but did you have a studio for a while? And you were teaching and
yeah. So it was in Plymouth.
Yep.
That's a whole story, man. Oh my God. So I started there when I was 18.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I started as a student, and then I became one of the students who was going to write and record an album, and I took piano lessons and guitar lessons, and I did vocal stuff, and I ended up teaching, and I was writing and producing, and we wrote albums, and I have an album that's out if you want to look it up. It's Mallory Sabato.
Do it.
Anyways, so that was a long time. I was there for 15 years.
That's awesome.
And then, and this brings me to so basically the parenting part of my life. So COVID hit, but even before that, probably like a year before that, I knew that I wanted to close the studio because I couldn't be there any longer. It wasn't vibing with me anymore. Sure. It was actually a kind of a dark experience, to be completely honest. And I was able to shut the studio down. Thank God. And
sometimes that's what you got to do.
Yeah. So my lovely, lovely husband, Eric, helped me shut the studio down. He happens to be a professional studio designer.
Eric is lovely, by the way, as a side note, but in a phenomenal studio.
He said, you picked a really good boyfriend for this time in your life, because he literally breaks down studios and builds them back up again. Yep. So that for a job.
It's a good gig.
So yeah.
Thanks for doing that. Yeah. You gotta go now.
So he helped me do that. We got out of there, and I became pregnant.
Wow, just from breaking down the studio.
Yeah. It was a really good deal. It was really awesome.
Breaking down the studio.
Yeah, exactly. So April of 2020 is when we found out that I was pregnant with my first boy. Sure. We weren't married yet. We had just been dating for 6 months, but we both knew that we wanted to be together for the rest of our lives. That's just kind of how it happened. That's cool. Oh my God, the fact that I became pregnant was the best thing to ever happen to me in my entire life. So right before that, I was really feeling in a dark, low place. And I'm like, what's my purpose anymore, man? Like, what am I doing? Yeah, I have a lovely boyfriend, and that's all well and fine. But what am I doing? What am I supposed to be doing here? Sure. I felt very depleted and very uninspired.
Gotcha.
In general. There's a whole story, but we won't go into it because we don't have time.
We'll shake that up for you real quick.
Yeah, so Tony was born December 12th, 2020, and his name is Antonio. And
he's a cool little dude.
He's awesome. And honestly, it rocked me so hard, man. It's like, I always say this, your deepest, darkest, traumatic, experiences will come to the surface when you're taking care of a little one, because it's like they're a reflection of you, and you want them to be 100% okay all the time. That's kind of how,
And I think deep down, even maybe in the moment we miss it, but I think a lot of the times when you see stuff go sideways or you see behavior stuff, you're like, oh man, that's probably me, or they're either, whether they've seen us do something, or whether, like I said, it's a reflection of parents.
Yeah.
And it's not to put all of the responsibility on parents all the time, but I completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think you see that.
You feel so responsible for everything that happens. And so coming from a background of anxious people, my entire family has anxiety issues. It kind of builds, it's like if you have this foundation that's not so solid, everything else in your life, if it's not 100% good and fine, it rocks you to your core. So I went through it, man. It was rough. So my introduction to parenting was just such a roller coaster. It was so eye-opening, and it's honestly, it's made me who I am today, 4 years later.
That's awesome. And I think to build off of that point, no one's ever ready for parenting, I don't think, despite what they say, despite how long they've been prepping to have a child, or whatever the situation may be, despite they may have had their goal set to be a parent their entire life. I can't wait to be a mom, or I can't wait to be a dad, which is great.
Mm-hmm. But once you're in it,
no one's ever really. It's just it's part of life. It's one of those things that you just can't. You can't feel it until you're there.
Until you're there, and it's a learning experience. I mean, nobody gets a guidebook. There's tons of books, but you won't really know until you're face to face with that little child.
Yep, that's it.
So Tony, he's changed my life for all the good. And in the beginning, it was difficult. He was an comfortable baby.
Sure.
So he had a lot of like sensitivity to dairy, and it really, his stomach wasn't doing great.
Gotcha.
So the first 10 weeks we were just struggling so bad because he was struggling, and that was just
and
like,
at an age like that, when obviously the only feedback is crying,
yeah.
it's hard. It's hard to pinpoint what something's not quite right, but it's hard to pinpoint exactly.
Exactly. Eric's actually the one that saved the day. He found a formula that was the cure for him, and it was just it was so much better from that point forward. So that, and then fast forward, maybe he was 1 year old, and we brought him to the doctor, and they asked, how many words does he have, and we were like, not really any. And that's kind of when she said, well, do you want to get him tested for speech? And we were like, oh, I don't know. Like, we weren't jumping on it at first because, as a parent, you're just like, well, he's going to get there. He's going to get there. Sure. And like, you almost think it's a reflection of you. Because you're like, okay, my kid can't do the thing. Why is he not able to? And me, I was that sportscaster mom. Like, right. Oh, we're going to the fridge. We're getting some strawberries. Sure. You're trying to get that language flooding.
Right, absolutely.
And I was like, oh, well, okay, I think he's going to get it. But he wasn't. So he was around 17 months, and then he got his speech evaluation, and sure enough, he needed speech. So the fact that he wasn't able to communicate very well was also a challenge. Sure. And then he needed occupational therapy to boot. So he's a kid who started walking early, and he was using his hands great, but he wanted to jump. He wanted to be rocking and rolling all the time. Like, he just needed a lot of comfort, and we didn't know that. We would do everything we could, bounce him and like carry him around the house and just do all the fun things, but we didn't know what we were doing until someone said, oh, he needs proprioceptive therapy, which means like you need pressure on the joints. They just need a lot of pressure on the joints, so like jumping off of tables. Yeah. Like, that was his way of calming his body down. Gotcha. So we would bring him to early intervention, and it's like a once a week class, and he mingles with other kids his age, this and that, but he was the boy who would push everybody because he just didn't know how to control his body and his impulses. And it's not that he
takes a while for anybody, but absolutely, especially when you're working to get some of that out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that was, I mean, as a parent, you're just like, you do everything you can. So.
Yes. Just because that's, I know the term proprioception and then the concept, but do you want to tell me and anybody a little more? Like, I actually didn't know proprioceptive therapy was a thing.
Yeah, it was available. God.
What does that look like? Or what?
Oh, yeah. So we had a lovely, lovely woman. I love you, if you ever see this, who came to the house once a week. Yep. And she helped Tony with basically what would work for him is a lot of squeezes. So you're going to just kind of go down the arms, go down the legs, give compression. Because like a baby in the womb, you're nice and tight and snuggled in there, and you feel so safe. Yep. So when you're out in the world, you're like, whoa, this is a whole different thing. At least it was for him. Yeah. So squeezes and like tight hugs and taking a big pillow and saying, do you want to squeeze? Is that okay? Mm-hmm. You got to ask first, because otherwise it's like, what are you doing? And then you kind of just give some compression on his chest or on his head, or you ask first, would you like this on your arms? Would you like this on your legs? Do you want it on your feet? And it would help him. And I would do that every day before he went to that play group. And then he started school at the preschool. Yeah. And I would do the squeezes before he went to school, because you got to make sure that he's calm, that he's okay to like mingle with the other kids. Thank God he turned 3, he started preschool, and there were no issues. No pushing any kids. He just went right in, and he's a beautiful child. He's just beautiful and lovely and sweet and kind, and he's like, oh my God, I'm gonna cry. He's like all the best things, but he just needed that extra help, and thank God we were able to figure it out what he needed.
Absolutely. How quickly did you see an impact from it? Like, so once you started the proprioceptive therapy,
it was
nearly instantaneous?
Yeah.
Like, or
yeah. It was. Cool. It was. Oh, and so like other things that
then you really know, you're like, man, that was it.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Okay.
Another thing that would help kids who are active, super active like Tony is they call it heavy work. Okay. So like lifting a heavy bag or a heavy anything. It's like, hey, can you carry this heavy bag and bring it over there and let's bring it over here. It just helps their body get that, whatever they need to get out, they're exerting that kind of energy. That's and it helps them calm down.
So it's interesting. Yeah. So we're a very, for lack of a better term, kind of a touchy-feely family.
Sure.
Like we're, like, I hug all four of them, all my boys, all my little girl. I mean, they're probably sick of it after a while, but that's something that's I've always felt like it was important, naturally.
Totally.
But it just seems like the proprioceptive therapy even just kind of takes it
to the next level.
In a good way.
Yeah. Oh, it's been the best. And awesome. And I will say, once he started school, and he was in that sort of schedule and routine, he really didn't need it much anymore after that. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. Sometimes still he'll say, I need a hug. Sure. And we'll give him a hug. It's so wonderful because now he has the communication skills along with the knowledge, like I need this, I need this. And we'll ask him too sometimes, do you need a hug? Yep. And he usually says yes. Yeah. So
don't we all?
Yeah.
Dude, I need a hug.
Oh, no, seriously, me too, every day.
Yep. Yeah.
So, it's been great. So he's 4 now. He just turned 4 in December, so.
And so there's not just Tony. Right?
There's not just Tony.
More.
Oh boy, yeah. I have my lovely 2-year-old.
Wait, there's more.
Yeah, I have my 2-year-old Nino, who is just a joy, an absolute joy. And to talk a little bit more about the journey, at least my journey, is we weren't necessarily expecting Nino, like we didn't plan it like this is when we're gonna, and so they're 20 months apart. Okay. So it's a tight, tight gap, and and so when Nino was born and he was in the world and I had to then care for 2, it was just a complete, what's the word? It was really jarring to me.
Yeah.
Because you know what it was? I couldn't give 100% to both. I couldn't do that anymore. That was over.
Especially at this point. But yes, I completely understand.
Yeah. And of course, all parents know. When you have more than one, you're like, okay, now I have to divide my time. And that's just what it is.
I think we don't need to go down my road right now, but I think honestly that's one of the things interiorly that I struggle with the most is that I love all 4 of them and they're all awesome in their own way, but I can't, no one can, but I can't be 100% for all of them all the time. And I know it has an impact. You know, you see it and it's tough, and I'm sure you see that too. When somebody's getting more attention than the other, or when they both really need the attention at the same time, then you got to figure out what to do with that.
That was the hardest thing. That was the hardest thing. So my husband Eric travels for work, so
pretty extensively too. Right?
Yeah. He builds studios all over the place. So when Nino was first born, I had to do the nights by myself. Days too, but the nights were the hardest part because both my boys, we co-sleep.
Yeah.
So, if I had to go from one bed to the next and one bed to the next, and it was like 5-6 times a night, I'd be like bed to bed, and I'm like, oh my God, this is too much.
And then you get the whole day ahead of you after.
Yes, exactly. So it was just craziness. But that's when honestly I was at my lowest point because I just didn't have the tools. The kids were so young.
Yeah.
I think so many parents can identify with like feeling like you just can't juggle. You just can't juggle it.
Right.
You just can't. And thank God my mom and my mom-in-law would help me like once a week.
Sure.
They'd come over for a few hours, and that was amazing. They still do help me. But it led me to my needing to find help. So I know that like postpartum can be a whole thing for some moms, and you just feel like you can't. Postpartum depression, it's like you feel like you just can't keep up. Thankfully mine wasn't necessarily a depression, it was more just like overload. And feeling like I couldn't do it enough, and I couldn't do it right.
Gotcha.
So like I was always behind.
Sure.
And I first did my first sort of like reach out for help was a journaling course. It was basically like a mom-centric journaling course, or just not necessarily mom, but it's just a self-help journaling course. And it's basically like write out your affirmations for the day, you know, put it on paper because it's powerful, and say who you want to be, and like, you know, I am calm during the day, and I keep my composure when, you know, so-and-so is having a meltdown, you know, things like that. And I did it, and it was cool, but it only worked for so long, and I was still having my meltdowns. Yeah, I was melting.
Yes. No, and this is good feedback, because it's obviously everything is different for each person. Right? Everyone's experience is very individual naturally. But there are things that on quite literally on paper sound great or should be great, and they might be for short periods of time, but over time they maybe lose some of that effectiveness, like or maybe it's all part of the journey, and it wasn't necessary, or it worked, it was the thing for that at the moment, but then it led you on to something else.
Oh, totally. It just wasn't enough, you know, after a couple months. And so for me, my sort of outlet was screaming. So
I'm acquainted with that.
Yeah. So I would just kind of like my cup would be like way too full of the not good stuff, and I would just, it was an outburst. So I would just scream, and I felt helpless, and I was like, how do I contain this? But the thing is, it's like, you don't want to contain it. You just have to get down deep and figure out, what is it that's making me feel so helpless, and like really figure out what's the best way to help yourself. And I listened to Martha Beck, and she's all about helping us on our, you know, the anxiety journey. It's like, speak kindly to yourself. Number one, it's like, first of all, when you can get your composure after you've had the meltdown, you know, what's the next kind thing you can do? What can I do for you? Do you need a tea? Do you need a warm blanket? Do you need to lay down for a minute? If you can, if somebody's there to watch the kids. But like, what can you do for yourself that is, you know, the next kind thing? And that's where you start. And that's I didn't discover her until recently, but that's kind of who I've been listening to in terms of like, how do I navigate this situation?
Yes.
Because it starts with you. That's the thing, guys. I mean, I'm sure everybody knows this by now. Pretty much, it's like, you got to start with you if you want to care for another being.
Yes.
You have to make sure you're taking care of yourself. Otherwise, you just go down the hole, and it's hard to get back up.
And along those lines, Peter Attia, who's he has a surgical background, but he's a doctor, and he works in kind of in the longevity field, but he just has a lot of really interesting insights. And he was talking about therapy as an adult male. I think he's probably 50 or so at this point, or late 40s, and he's got a couple of kids. But one of the really impactful things, I remember hearing him say this, one of the most impactful things for him that his therapist said was along the lines of the fact that we're so much tougher on ourselves than we would be on other people. And what she actually had him do, and this is wild, is anytime he was tough on himself about anything, whether it be parenting or work or getting out, and she would have him record a voice memo as if it was to a friend in the same situation.
That's it.
And literally, it was and he said that was a big struggle for him. So, and it wasn't just, it was parenting, but it was work, it was a number of different things. So he kind of laughed. He's like, I would be sending 30 text messages or 30 voice memos a day to my therapist, but it really opened his eyes, and he was like, I would never, the way his self-talk, the negative self-talk, he was like, I would never speak to someone else like that. Yeah. Ever.
Yes.
But we totally justify doing it to ourselves.
Yes, exactly.
All day, a lot of the time. And I think that, like you said, it starts with you, but that's a big part of the journey, is, like you said, that kindness and that taking care of yourself, and like letting yourself off the hook a little bit too. Not to vanquish responsibility, but you're human. Yeah. We're all, and to know that it's, it's going to be hard. We're going to make some mistakes. Yeah. But you can be kind to yourself along the way.
And that starts with your parents Definitely. If you didn't see them speaking kindly to themselves, you don't pick that up. And that's why, when I do have an outburst, I mean, I haven't had one in a while, but when I used to, I would always go back and apologize to Tony and Nino. Tony understands it more. He's only 2.5, so he doesn't really absorb it. But I'm always like, I'm really sorry, Mommy yelled. Like,
but he still hears it. I think that will matter. I think it does make, like you said, he might not understand it quite at the depth that Tony does yet, but he's receiving it.
Absolutely. And that makes a difference. I mean, I've been following all the parenting, profiles on Instagram and all the things and all the profiles about awakening and becoming, more true to yourself and things like that. And one of the things that I've taken from those parenting profiles is the ability to repair what you just did, because it's like, it's one thing to be, it's like you have the outburst and you yell and like you could just never mention it again, but your kids would be like, okay, that was awkward and terrible. Like, what do I do? What do I do now?
Sure.
What was that? And then you go back and you're hugging and you're kissing them and it's like, okay, wait a minute. Like, what was that? So to be able to repair is huge. So I've been, mindful about always apologizing and just saying, hey, sometimes, I'm human and sometimes I get upset too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that honesty is huge.
Yeah. And I think we're so lucky because we're in the generation of parenting, this like conscious parenting and gentle parenting and just like really, really looking at how we felt as kids, and just being like, okay, let's see if we can turn this around a little bit. You know what I mean? I love my parents. I love them. They're beautiful people. But there are things that I would do differently and I am doing differently, but there's also things that I take, like, from my parents that I bring to my kids that I cherish.
And I think both of those things are key.
Yeah. And my grandmother too. She's wonderful. She's just wonderful. I have, my 2 grandmothers, one's passed away, but my nanny, who's still around and is going to be 91, is just the kindest person. And makes me want to cry. But anyway, I take from her, and I bring it to my kids.
That's cool.
So
nice.
So in the healing journey, which is very important to me, I found A Course in Miracles, and it is a metaphysical text, and it's Jesus's words. You can search it if you want to find it. Basically, it's sort of like a guidebook to help you live a more peaceful, happy, joyful, love-filled life. And that was the best thing that I could have ever found. There's 365 lessons. So it's one lesson a day. So it's a simple thing. Yeah, it's cool. You can take it. I started it in January of 2024, but it took me a little bit longer to get through just because of life and everything. But I'm on lesson 332, which means I'm almost done. And obviously, it's not like a destination; it's part of the journey. Like, but it's helped me tremendously. It basically helps to center as a person in feeling more love and forgiveness for yourself. Okay. And that's what helps me with my kids, when I can look at them and know that they are me, essentially. We're all the human race, all of us on this planet are connected. We are all from the same source. So my kids are just a part of me, and it's like, you want to treat yourself with love and kindness, so let me do my best to do the same thing for you. You're not separate from me. Yeah. You're not. So that's, it's helped me so much.
So I don't want to put you on the spot and be like, can you remember? So you said there's like, it's daily quotes, and it's the teachings of Jesus, or it's like his words?
His words. So it was a channeled text. Okay. So basically, Helen Schuckman was the one. It was written in the 70s. Okay. And she basically, heard these words saying, write this down. Yeah, it was a channeled thing.
So it's not necessarily like a biblical text or like more like sayings from that, but it's something that was
channeled. Yeah, and she was an atheist to begin with. So this is not coming from somebody who was like, I have the words of Jesus, everyone, look at me. So it was a channeled thing. She was told, she kept hearing this voice that said, write this down, write this down. She's like, okay, I can't ignore this. Let me just go for it. Sure. And it became what it was.
Were there particular sayings, particular things that stuck out for you more? Are there like any themes that you're like, oh, this one is like, that's it, like, or like certain ones that really like hit home for you more than others?
I can just basically touch on some themes. So the fact that what you give is what you receive.
Okay.
And the idea that like, if I give you more love, I'm receiving love.
Sure.
If I put judgments on you and I put hatred towards you, it's coming right back to me. And I know that that's a very universal thing. Like, people know about this type of thing, but it really gets you to think about that more. And it gets you to think about what you're thinking in a day, just in one day.
Yeah.
You know, like little grievances, just little things like, oh, I can't believe he put the trash that way, or whatever. I'm looking at the trash. Like, I can't believe he put the towels that way, or, you know, whatever it is. And it's like just tiny little things. But those grievances are not coming from love.
Sure.
So it's just basically fixing your thinking.
Yeah.
That's just one example.
No, that's cool. And I think it was an interesting definition, but it always kind of stuck with me. I heard someone define love as willing the good of the other person.
Oh, so good.
And I was like, that's phenomenal. Yeah. And I think that's really what it is. You know, it's real love, like true love and loving another human, whether that's a spouse or a child or a friend or anyone, just showing real love and respect to another person is wanting what's best for them. Now, the tough thing, I think, as a spouse, as a parent, sometimes as a friend, depending on the situation, is that doesn't always have to mean being nice. And I don't mean it I don't mean disrespectful, but that can be, as a parent, it might be willing the good of my kid, might be kind of laying down the law a little bit and telling them, you can't do this thing, right? So
making a boundary.
It doesn't always appear to the other person or it doesn't always have to appear to the other person as the nice outlet or a good thing. But if you know, that's kind of how I always check, like, parenting wise. Like, am I just like, am I angry right now, or am I like really? Am I trying to do what's best for them? And then am I, like, if I'm enforcing something, or if I'm being a tougher parent at the moment, like is it just because I'm frustrated and I'm yelling at them, or is it because I actually am trying to show them a better way, or I want something better for them? And sometimes it is. Sometimes I'm really trying to do the right thing, and then other times I'm like, dude, you're just being a jerk. Stop.
I feel you. And my husband's awesome. He's such a good partner, and he's totally perfect for me and during this journey. And what you said just reminds me of him, because he's more of the lay the law down kind of dad. You know what I'm saying? I'm a little bit more like, oh, but, you know, I kind of just hold them in, and I'm like, but he's like, no, this is what they need to know, certain things. Yeah. And it's for their safety, and it's so that they're a good human. And
that is love too. You know, like I say, it is. It's a good thing.
Yes. So it's important to have a balance, you know. So, what else, BJ?
I don't know. Where else you want to go? So, I mean, we've done a lot. It's been cool.
Yeah.
So, I guess for me, questions are things that I think will hit home.
Yeah.
So, you have the Course in Miracles. That's kind of what's been helping you personally. What else has helped you kind of settle in as a mom? And because I know you said there was a kind of a dark period where it got really tough, and then you've got both kids, and you're not doing it solo, but you are spending a lot of 1-on-2 time with it. You know, you with the two of them, and like you mentioned earlier, you're up all night, Mm-hmm. You get them all day, and then you're up all night, and then you're up, and it's a lot of times it's you with that interaction, and Eric is, he might be building a studio
or building a house.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is
and again, that's certainly not a knock on him. That's a good thing. Everybody brings something to the table, and they're both important, but it does become difficult for you after a while if it's just you with a couple of kids all the time. So how did you get beyond that? How did you find your way out of that?
My balance. Yeah. So music for sure. Yeah. For one, sure. I've always been a musician, like we said in the beginning. Thankfully, we get to gig and do the weddings and everything like that. Shout out to Adam. And so music is such a wonderful, beautiful outlet. Oh my God. And I know that so many people that just resonates because everyone knows music is the best ever. Yes. So being able to gig and have that completely opposite experience, you know what I mean? Yep. You don't have to take care of a baby in their diaper. You get to bring the party, you know? Exactly. So awesome. It's sweet. So music for sure. Yep. And then thankfully I found an awesome yoga studio, and I go once a week. Nice. So that's what I'm able to kind of work.
Is that a local thing?
It's beautiful. Nice. Universal Power Yoga, baby. So nice. It is. Cool. The one I go to is in Rentham.
Awesome.
But it's such a beautiful place there too. There's no mirrors. And you know what? No mirrors is a beautiful thing because you're not checking yourself. You're not judging yourself.
You're not just up in your head the whole time.
Yeah, you're just doing it. And it's all about the breath, and it's all about connecting, and it's all about centering yourself for 1 hour. You know? You don't have to do anything except show up. Yep. You just show up.
Yep.
And that's really cool. So the music, and then yoga, and then talking with my girlfriend Shanti, who experienced a lot of what I experienced at that old studio. Sure. There were some certainly traumatic things that happened there. We don't have to go into it because that's a whole other episode. Right. But we've been working through that together. She lives in Pittsburgh now.
Oh, okay.
She's an amazing singer too. Writing. You have to write, man. I mean, it's such a cathartic thing, and it's so helpful. We don't do it much anymore because everything's digital. Everything's on our phone. We type, but pen to paper is super powerful. And if you want to put out an affirmation, just write it down and speak it and live it.
That's cool. Yeah, I definitely. I struggle with what I think of as proper journaling, like doing it every single day and having it be cohesive, and it's somewhere in my head I feel like if I'm journaling, it should I should have a topic, or I should it should look like a certain thing, but I have notes and just weird stuff written all over the place for different things, and even that alone, I agree 100%. I have them in my phone too, but it's not the same. There's definitely something to be said for sitting and writing things out. Definitely makes a big difference.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be structured. That's kind of how our brains are anyways.
Yeah.
Free flow,
I'm a little all over the place anyway, so it's good. It's good to have something, but I definitly I struggle with the structure side of that.
And that's okay, because no one's judging except for you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just judging myself. There's no mirrors though, so I'm good. Anything else that you want to share? Anything that we didn't touch upon? Anything about anything? Marriage.
Oh, marriage! Marriage is a great thing.
It is.
Yeah. So, I love it too.
It's cool, right? For real.
It's the best.
It's freaking hard sometimes too, or a lot of time. But it's awesome. It's great.
Yeah. So. It's cool. Me and Eric have a unique, relationship, considering we started seeing each other dating in 2019, in the summer, at the end of the summer, and then fast track, dating for 6 months, and then we got pregnant, and then we got married in 2020 October. Okay. So it was pretty fast. Everything that we did, we didn't have the 10 years together or even the 4 years together. It was just very fast. Yeah. But he's so. We have so many similarities, but he's he's opposite of me in a lot of ways, which helps me because I tend to be the neurotic one, and he's a little bit more of the rock solid, like, all right, let me help you with this. Like, what can I do? And he's an amazing dad. Like, total props to Eric. He's 100% in, you know, awesome. Just like you. He's 100% in. Eric's awesome. Like changing the diapers and making the food, making the meals, and short order cook the whole thing. Like, Tony wants pasta, but this one wants sausages. Like, it's all happening, and Eric just does it. He's just like, I love it. I love it so much too, and it's so helpful for a person like me who can do the things, but I'm the one that they want to be held by. You know what I mean? Sure. Like, they want to be sitting with me and holding my hair, and you know, and he steps up to the plate. So it's just amazing to have somebody who's just like 100% in. And what's so cool about that is I think like they're getting the best of both worlds. That way they be their kids. And Jen and I have very different personality traits, but a very similar balance where we both bring something different to the table. Definitely. And I think, thankfully, the kids generally get the best of both worlds. Yes. Every once in a while they get the worst of it, but not too often, hopefully. It's amazing. I'm so grateful. And I know not every family is, has the two parents and things like that. But, I had my two parents, and they weren't always loving each other, but me and Eric... my parents split when I was 10, and thankfully I have both of them still, and I'm close with both of them. They're not close necessarily, but I am close with both of them still. I'm thankful for that. Yeah. But it's definitely, it's a different scenario than my own upbringing. And that's super important. And I know my mom and dad are probably going to watch this, and I love you guys, and you guys are so amazing. I don't want anybody to think anything bad. They are cool. I've only met them once or twice, but they're awesome. Yeah, I just want to be honest about how my upbringing was and how I saw it. Like my sisters and I, like we. My dad's awesome. He played guitar too, and he would play poker with us, and he would sing songs, and it was great. And he would bring us to the gym when he played basketball with his friends and stuff like that. And he's an awesome person. But he and my mom were not always like on the same page, Sure. So that it created what it created. But I'm here now, and I was able to take from it what I didn't want and take from what I did want. So yeah. And I know we're getting somewhat towards the end. I don't want to go way off the rails here, but something you just said I thought was really interesting, and maybe we should touch on it for a minute because I think it's really important. It's something I think about with my own kids a lot. Is you were talking about your parents and your upbringing, and you just said like that was how you saw it, and which means that's the reality of the situation, for good, for better or for worse. Yes. And this is another one of those cases where I think parents can let themselves off the hook a little bit because we take everything so personally and we take responsibility for everything. I think sometimes to an extreme, more than we deserved, in the sense that we beat ourselves up for our stuff that we've done or the way we've treated our kids. But the truth is, there are I've seen this play out different ways, but there are times where I've really thought I was truly doing a good job parenting or doing the best I can in a certain situation, and truly through no fault of my own, one of the kids will take something a certain way, or someone's more sensitive than another, and something rolls off one of their backs, and then the other one is just offended, or like they feel. So it really, I guess the point I'm trying to get to is I think there's a lot to be said for perception and individual experience of something. So that's it. I think about that a lot because there'll be scenarios to play out with my guy. We've got 4 of them, obviously. Yeah. And I can see it as it happens that all 4 might take something different away from the same situation, right? And I'm sure you'll have stuff where you've got Tony and Nino, and like they've got different perspectives on the same situation. Yeah, right? Definitely. So it can make it difficult because I think it comes back to just being kind to yourself, because you have to do your best
for whatever situation you're in, if it's you with 2 kids or us with 4 or somebody with 1, you do the best you can, but there is still a piece of it that each person is going to interpret,
and
something
it's out of your
way.
control.
That's right.
The
Yes.
thing.
I guess. Thank you. That was much better said than the last 4 minutes of me yapping over here. But yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That you might truly do your best, and there is an element of it that is beyond your control.
Yeah.
It's just up to their interpretation.
Yeah. That's huge.
I mean, I suppose that's life with anybody, but it just seems exacerbated with kids. Like, it's much more extreme when you have kids. Like, they can interpret things differently.
Yes, definitely. And owning that and knowing that, like, I'm going to do my best, and whatever you guys perceive, I hope it's good stuff, but if, I can't control how you feel, but I can help you to feel better.
Well, that's it. Exactly. Yeah.
That's the goal.
And I think that's the key. It's just showing up and doing the best, truly, and, it's going to sound like the most trite thing in the world, but it is. You keep showing up and you keep doing the best you can every day,
and learn every day. That it really is a learning experience. I mean, that's what life is, but with kids, because they reflect back to you what you're doing.
Yes. Yes,
So.
The learning curve. It's like exponential. It's like the learning curve. It's crazy. But
yeah, it's been a wonderful ride, and I'm just excited to see what happens next.
Yeah.
So
me too. That was awesome.
It's been fun.
I appreciate you coming over and hanging out. And talking about kids and life and all of these things.
Yeah, I'm really happy.
Good.
So
that's cool. I'm excited, and we should do. Let 6 months or a year go by, and we'll see where the Niños are at, and we'll do it again.
Sounds good.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you for hanging.
Thank you.